I swear, one day a Karen is going to follow me home. This time, thankfully, it was just the men's restroom in a dying big-box bookstore. But honestly, for a good 5 minutes, it felt like the prelude to a horror movie, all because I had the audacity to exist while looking well, not like I worked there, apparently. I'm just cruising the clearance section of Books and Beyond, a place that smelled faintly of old paper, dust, and corporate regret. You know the vibe. It was a ghost town mostly, just me and a few other sad souls sifting through discounted dreams. Then nature called loudly. I figured I'd hit the restroom, which was conveniently, or inconveniently, as it turned out, right past the mostly unmanned customer service desk. As I headed that way, I saw her. A woman in a power suit that probably hadn't seen a power meeting in years, glaring at me like I'd personally insulted her entire lineage. She was perched at the desk, tapping her foot, radiating pure, unadulterated impatience. I tried to just walk past, minding my own business, but she launched herself from the counter, blocking my path. "Excuse me," she barked, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Where do you think you're going? I've been waiting here for ages. Get back to the desk and help me find The Secret Garden, the good edition, not that cheap paperback." My internal monologue screeched to a halt. Seriously, I glanced down at my faded band t-shirt and cargo shorts. Did I suddenly sprout a uniform? Ma'am," I started, trying to be polite. "I don't actually work here. I'm just a customer like you." Her eyes narrowed and a vein in her forehead started doing a little dance. "Don't you lie to me. You were just at that desk. And you look exactly like the kind of person who works in a place like this." I'm still trying to figure out if that was an insult or not. She took another step, boxing me in even further. "Now. You can't just walk away when a customer needs help. Get me that book now." I took a deep breath. "No, really, I don't work here. I'm just heading to the restroom." I tried to sidestep her, gesturing vaguely towards the door. That's when she went full nuclear, her face flushed an alarming shade of puce. "You think you can just abandon your post? I'll have your job. You are not leaving until you help me." And then, unbelievably, she physically blocked the entrance to the men's restroom. My jaw actually dropped. This woman was completely unhinged. I managed to squeeze past her, muttering something like, "Seriously, I don't work here," and practically bolted into the restroom, pushing the door closed behind me. I just needed a minute, a moment of peace. I locked myself into the farthest stall, figuring she'd eventually get the hint. "Nope, Nulla, not Karen." Within seconds there was a frantic, insistent pounding on my stall door. "I know you're in there, you lazy slacker," she shrieked, her voice echoing off the tile. "You open this door right now. I'm going to find your manager, and you are going to be fired for this. You can't just hide in the men's room all day." I just sat there frozen, alternating between horrified and utterly baffled. Fired. From a job I didn't have. The sheer audacity, the entitlement, the complete and utter lack of self-awareness, it was breathtaking. I finished up as quickly as possible, feeling a strange mix of adrenaline and amusement, like this was happening to me. Washing my hands, I heard her still huffing and puffing outside the stall, occasionally kicking the door. I took another deep breath, straightened my non-existent uniform, and pushed the restroom door open. She was there, of course, fists on her hips, ready for round two. But before she could launch into another tirade, a tired-looking employee, an actual one this time, probably the only one left in the whole store, appeared from around the corner, looking utterly drained. "Ma'am," the employee said, his voice flat, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You can't harass customers, especially not by following them into the restroom." Karen's face turned a shade of scarlet I didn't know existed. Harass? He was refusing to do his job. "I'm a paying customer. I'll never shop here again. Never," she practically shrieked, as the employee calmly started ushering her towards the exit. The employee, without missing a beat, just shrugged. "That's perfectly fine, ma'am. We're closing for good at the end of the week anyway." The silence that followed was chef's kiss. Karen actually stumbled, her mouth agape. She tried to stammer something, but nothing came out. The employee just kept walking her to the door, a faint smirk playing on his lips. She was still fuming and red-faced when he finally pushed her out, locking the door behind her with a definitive clunk. I stood there next to the ghost of a customer service desk, processing what had just happened. The store was closing. The entire, dramatic, unhinged interaction had been about a book from a place that wouldn't even exist in a few days. It was like the universe itself had decided to deliver the ultimate mic drop on Karen's entitlement. So yeah, fellow Redditors, sometimes the world just gives you a perfectly wrapped gift of cosmic irony. The next time you encounter a truly ridiculous Karen, just remember, they might be fighting battles no one else even knows are happening, in places that are about to disappear entirely. Just laugh, wash your hands, and enjoy the show.
This next story might destroy your faith in humanity, but first subscribe so we can keep making these videos.
My husband, usually the most laid-back guy you'll ever meet, actually grabbed a woman's arm in the middle of a bustling grocery store checkout line. Not a gentle "excuse me" either. He was stopping her from tearing into me, a complete stranger, for the heinous crime of helping an old lady with her groceries. Yeah, it was that kind of day. I'm Emily, and honestly, most days are pretty uneventful. Just me and my husband Mark ticking off our weekly grocery list: bread, milk, eggs, the usual suburban symphony. We were just finishing up navigating the packed aisles like seasoned pros when we spotted her. A tiny, elderly woman, probably in her late 80s, wrestling with a mountain of groceries. Her bags looked like they were winning. Being the helpful type, which is just a fancy way of saying I can't stand by and watch someone struggle, I offered to help her bag everything up and get it into her cart. She was so grateful, her eyes crinkling at the corners as she thanked me. We fell into a comfortable rhythm, chatting about the perpetually dim lighting in the produce section and how the weather couldn't make up its mind. It was a sweet, mundane moment. But then, I felt it. A cold ripple of hostility, like someone had just opened the freezer door behind me. I turned to see her, every single cliché about a Karen solidified into one crimson-faced woman marching toward us. Her jaw was clenched so tight I thought her teeth might crack, and her eyes, magnified by chunky glasses, were narrowed into furious slits. She looked like a pit bull whose chew toy had just been stolen. "Excuse me," she snapped, her voice cutting through the general store hum. She jabbed a finger not just in my direction but practically at my nose. "What do you think you're doing? She's not your responsibility. Get back to your register, or whatever it is you're supposed to be doing." I blinked. Register? I was wearing jeans and a band t-shirt, not a uniform. "Ma'am, I don't actually work here," I started, trying to keep my voice even. "I was just..." "Don't you ma'am me," she shrieked, cutting me off. Her finger, now trembling with rage, poked my shoulder. "You think you can just stand around chatting and ignoring customers? This store is going downhill, and it's because of lazy people like you." The poke wasn't hard, but it was enough to cross a line. My blood started to simmer, but before I could respond, Mark stepped in. Now Mark is a big guy. Not just tall, but broad-shouldered, with a presence that usually makes people just instinctively step aside. And right now, he was radiating a quiet, dangerous energy. He moved between Karen and me, effectively shielding me with his frame. He didn't raise his voice, but there was an unmistakable steel in his tone. "Excuse me, but you need to calm down. You're harassing my wife and she doesn't work here. Now back off." Karen actually flinched. Her eyes widened, her angry tirade momentarily stalled by the sudden, immovable obstacle in front of her. For a split second, I thought it was over. But then, true to form, she regrouped, her face darkening even further. "How dare you?" she screeched, her voice cracking. "Who are you to tell me what to do? I have every right to complain about this abysmal service." This woman, she jabbed a finger at me again, trying to reach around Mark, was incredibly rude. "She was helping an old lady, Karen," Mark stated, his voice dropping to a low rumble that vibrated through the air. "You're making a scene and you physically touched her. That's not okay." I did no such thing, she lied, her face a mask of indignation. She made to push past Mark, her hand actually going for his arm. That was her second mistake. Mark's hand shot out. He didn't push her away, he gripped her arm firmly but not violently, stopping her dead in her tracks. His voice, now just above a whisper, was utterly chilling. Listen, lady, you will stop harassing my wife. You will stop touching her, and you will walk away right now, or you're going to have a much bigger problem than slow service. The entire store seemed to hold its breath. Shoppers froze in their tracks, checkout lines stalled, all eyes fixated on the tableau. Karen, for the first time, looked genuinely terrified. Her face, which had been a theatrical shade of red, now went blotchy pale. Her mouth opened and closed like a startled fish. Mark's grip wasn't hurting her, but it conveyed an absolute, unyielding resolve that broke through her rage. She tried to yank her arm away, but he held firm for another second, just enough to make his point, then released her. Karen stumbled back, muttering incoherent threats about calling corporate, about us being the real problem, as she scuttled away into the canned goods aisle, her bravado completely deflated. The elderly lady, who had been a silent, wide-eyed spectator through the whole ordeal, looked utterly shaken. Mark immediately turned to her, his intense glare melting into genuine concern. I am so incredibly sorry you had to witness that, ma'am, he said, his voice soft. Please accept my apology on behalf of everyone who isn't that. She gave him a watery smile. Thank you, dear, she whispered, her voice a little shaky. You're a true gentleman. But our drama wasn't quite done. Just as we were helping the kind woman retrieve her shopping list that had fallen in the commotion, the store manager appeared. He was a harried-looking man with a name tag that read Dave, and he already had that "I'm dealing with a colossal headache" expression plastered across his face. All right, folks, what's going on here? Dave said, looking from us to the general area Karen had disappeared into. We've had several complaints about a disturbance. We were helping this lovely lady, I explained, gesturing to her, when that woman, Karen, came over, started screaming at me, accusing me of being a lazy employee, and actually poked me. Mark nodded, his arms crossed, and when she tried to push past me to get to my wife again, I stopped her. She's the one who caused the disturbance, Dave. Dave looked utterly overwhelmed. He clearly wanted to just banish the entire problem. Well, sir, you physically grabbed her. We have a zero-tolerance policy for physical altercations. She initiated physical contact first, Mark countered, his voice firm, and I reacted to protect my wife. If anyone should be banned, it's the woman who harassed and assaulted a customer who was simply trying to be kind. Dave rubbed his temples, his gaze darting between us and the now curious crowd. He knew the optics weren't good for the store if he just kicked out the people who were helping an old woman. After a tense moment, he sighed, defeated. Look, I need you two to leave the store now. We'll review the security footage, but for now, please just go. I'll handle her. He gestured vaguely toward the canned goods aisle. As we walked out hand in hand, leaving the manager to his impossible task, I couldn't help but feel a surge of pride mixed with lingering adrenaline. Mark had stood up for me, not just with words, but with an unwavering certainty that left no room for doubt. And Karen, well, I hope the footage truly showed her for what she was. Because some lessons you just have to learn the hard way, and sometimes that lesson comes in the form of a husband who's had enough of your nonsense.
Get the hell out of here, I barked, twisting his elbow up his back. The guy, a real piece of work we'd started calling Dickhead, winced, trying to pull away, but he was locked in. Another New Year's Eve, another entitled rich kid thinking the rules didn't apply to him. This one was proving to be a special kind of persistent pest. See, I'm Riley, been in security for over 6 years, mostly bouncing. It's a job that requires a thick skin and a sharper wit, but even I get tested. This particular night, I was on close protection for an 18-year-old VIP at a huge club. Think high rollers, exclusive areas, the works. Our crew had 2 of the 5 VIP sections circling the main dance floor, and my job was simple: keep our client, his friends, and their drinks safe from anyone else. Especially from Dickhead and his crew, who were in the VIP area right next to ours. The problem started early. Dickhead, probably feeling his oats, kept trying to poach drinks from our bar. Not just sidling up, he was being a total jerk about it, actually shoving some of our party-goers around. I'd seen it unfold, stepped in. Dude, seriously, chill out, ID said, trying to keep it low-key. But he was having none of it. He puffed his chest out, took a step towards me, still pushing his way into our space. That's when my training kicked in. I moved fast, grabbed his wrist, pulled down on his shoulder, twisted his elbow behind his back in one fluid motion. Textbook, he yelped. You're done here, mate. Go back to your own section, I told him, keeping my voice firm but not yelling. He finally stumbled out of our area, rubbing his arm. The house bouncers, who'd probably only seen the tail end of the scuffle, gave me a confused look, but I just shrugged and went back to scanning our perimeter. Just another Tuesday, or rather, another insane New Year's Eve. You'd think that'd be the end of it, right? Nah. Maybe 10 minutes later I saw him again. Dickhead, back on the prowl. He'd circled around, trying a different approach, but his target was still our open bar. And he was being even worse this time, getting right in the faces of our guests, practically daring me to do something. My patience, already thin thanks to the NYE madness, snapped. I didn't bother with the pleasantries this time. I moved straight for him, pushing him hard away from our group. He stumbled, then tried to puff up again. What's your problem, mate? He slurred, probably more drunk and definitely more emboldened. My problem, I said, grabbing him again, is that I told you once to leave and you clearly didn't get the message. This time. The wrist grab, shoulder pull, elbow twist was sharper, tighter. He actually cried out, "Get the hell out of here. And if I see you near this section again, you won't like what happens next." I practically shoved him towards the exit of the VIP area. He glared, nursed his arm, and finally disappeared into the crowd, hopefully for good. The bouncers looked at me again, still perplexed, still not fully understanding my specific remit versus theirs. I just nodded, a silent, "Yeah, I got this." I took a deep breath, trying to reset. New Year's Eve, right? The air was thick with bass, sweat, and cheap champagne. The club was absolutely packed, a pulsating mass of humanity. I was trying to navigate through the main thoroughfare, making my way to check another part of our VIP perimeter, when it happened. I bumped into someone hard. His back was to me, talking animatedly to his buddies. He lurched forward and I heard the unmistakable slosh of liquid, his drink all over him. My heart sank. "Oh man, I am so sorry," I said immediately, trying to grab a napkin from a passing waiter. He spun around, eyes blazing. This was Dickhead, this was a whole new level of rage. "What the hell is your problem?" he screamed, his face inches from mine, spittle flying. Before I could even finish my apology, he reached out and grabbed a fistful of my shirt, practically yanking me off my feet. "Hey," I said, "I'm sore." Wham! The sound was sickeningly loud, even over the booming music. The stranger who had just grabbed my shirt suddenly went limp, his eyes rolling back, and he crumpled to the floor like a sack of potatoes. Standing over him, fist still cocked, was one of his own friends. "Don't you ever touch my friend again," the friend roared, glaring at the unconscious man on the ground. My jaw literally dropped. I stood there, dumbfounded, as the original stranger's buddies rushed to his aid, screaming. The house bouncers, who'd been confused by me twice tonight, finally descended in force. They quickly assessed the situation, dragging the unconscious guy and his punching friend out of the club. I just blinked, still processing. I mean, I'm the security guy, the one who's supposed to break up fights, not stand there while someone else gets knocked out on my behalf by their own friend. I eventually found my way to the bathroom, splashing water on my face, trying to scrub away the sheer absurdity of the night. Later, recounting that New Year's Eve to a few of the newer guys, they just stared at me, jaws agape. "A random guy punched his own friend for touching you. Yeah, on the same night you had to toss the same drunk twice. Yep." It sounded unbelievable even to me, but it was all true. My aunt brought it up recently, laughing about that time you got saved by a stranger's friend, and honestly it got me thinking. You see some wild stuff working these jobs. Maybe it's time I started sharing more of those crazy nights in bars and clubs, because if nothing else, they make for one hell of a story.
This one pairs perfectly with what you just watched.